Welcome 2023. During the controversial Finance Act, she made headlines and surprised many with her no vote. She tells us why she decided not to be a choir girl as much as talk to us about other national matters issues. She is Gathoni Member of Parliament, Gathoni wa Muchomba, Mheshimiwa. Thank you so much for spending time with KTN News.
Thank you. I like the way you pronounce my name. Yes. Most people don't have the CH. They call me wa Muchomba.
Wa Muchomba.
Wa Muchomba.
All right.
I'm glad. Thank you for hosting me and having me here. And I'm glad that I'm speaking to you because most people don't understand exactly why some of us politicians behave the way we behave, the way we speak, because they only see us on screen. They don't understand the other burdens that we carry. I have very special burdens that I carry based on where I come from, how I was brought up, where I was schooled, how I was schooled, and therefore that makes me behave and say things that I say, and even do things that I do outside the political expectations. So the Finance Act that is in place right now was a very controversial document because, of course, for me, I felt that in it were things that I did not agree with because I knew if I did agree with them, then there are a section of people that I represent that I felt like they are not going to be treated fairly. And this is engineered by, like I said, my socialization. So when the finance bill came and I read it through, I felt like the Kenya Kwanza government was insensitive to the needs of the people that supported me, people who had my story, resonated with my story, and gave me votes because they know I am a child of a family that replicates a certain family in my constituency. And therefore, I decided to say no to some things. One of the most pressing things that I felt, honestly, I needed to stand up is the issue of fuel levy, because I knew adding levy on fuel, having been in the previous parliament, that is 12th parliament, and I know what an 8% did to us. Forget about 16%, an 8% that we had in the previous parliament. I knew adding levy on fuel would actually be very punitive to most of my voters. And because I am learned, I have been in business, I am a farmer like my farmers in the villages, I knew what it meant to say yes to 16% levy on fuel. I knew what it meant to add levy on VAT, to add tax on VAT, to add VAT from 8% to 16%. So I said no. I knew saying no was really a burden, political burden. Since then, I've had a lot of political pressure, a lot of political alienation, a lot of political discrimination, a lot of political subjectification. You know, people don't believe that a woman of my age can stand on her own without a godfather. So they start saying, oh, you know, she's funded by so-and-so. Oh, she's a girlfriend of so-and-so. She's a wife of so-and-so. She's a mother of so-and-so. She's a mudhoniwa. She's, you know, they start looking for connections. Why would this woman stand on her feet and say this? And I'm sorry to say that in Kenya, our political perspective have that kind of a trend that a woman in Kenya cannot be on her own. She can only say this because she's a girlfriend of so-and-so. She can only say this or do this because she's being sponsored by so-and-so. Oh, I've heard all those narratives. People saying, oh, you know, she's related to Uhuru Kenyatta. That is why she speaks the way she speaks. Oh, she's married in this family which is related to so-and-so. All that kind of nonsense. We have a parliament that is somehow captured. A parliament that is so much influenced by the executive that we have lost the freedom to speak freely like members of parliament. To some extent, I feel like I'm gagged, like I am being patronized. And Unfortunately, I was in the previous parliament. We accused the former president of patronizing us, but we never knew that he only did an eighth of what is happening now. This current parliament is going through too much patronization that every time when you are opening parliament, we must go to State House, we must be told what to vote for, what not to vote for, and all we can say is yes, sir. And that makes me very annoyed. I am not annoyed with my president. I am annoyed with ourselves that we have found ourselves in that situation where we have to go and be told what to do as members of parliament. I think it is us who are supposed to be telling the president. It is us who are supposed to be telling His Excellency the President, sir, when you came to my area, area of representation, for example, in Githunguri, you promised this and this and this. And therefore, sir, we need to bring this piece of legislation so that we can help you achieve what you promised my people. But unfortunately, that does not happen in Kenya, and especially in this current parliament. Last parliament, we have a small window. We had a small window where I would wait for my president, for example, in Kiambu, and I would whisper to him and tell him, you know, Your Excellency, you promised to do 1, 2, 3 in this area, and you forgot. Your Excellency, allow me to go and bring this question in Parliament so that your cabinet secretary can come to Parliament and answer and say what we did. Of course, the president would protect his cabinet secretary, but we had that window where we would remind him. In this Parliament, we are not even allowed to remind the president that you promised this and this and this. I want to beg that we pardon members of parliament, not because they have done the right thing, but they are all conflicted. For example, majority of members of parliament that are serving in the 13th parliament, majority are from Kenya Kwanza coalition. They are all sponsored by their respective parties that are giving them the agenda on how to vote in parliament. Do you expect a Kenya Kwanza member of parliament to vote against what the sponsoring party wants? Of course, most members of parliament, first-time serving members of parliament, will not be sure of what to do. Do they listen to Wanjiko or do they listen to the political parties?
All right, Mheshimiwa, you're talking about listening to the Mwananchi on the ground and what they had to say. So what are these Wananchi telling you about the Kenya Kwanza government as is?
That Wanjiko that I stood for, to be protected against punitive taxes, is not happy. Because even after I protested and I gave a no vote, even after they did public participation, and all of them said no, except maybe, I think it was 98%. According to what I saw reported, 98% of people who did public participation on fuel levy and housing levy said no, but we still went on and implemented it against their wish. They are not happy. When a member of parliament within your own political outfit says no, I think it's only, good and fair to reach out to that member of parliament and ask her or him, Mheshimiwa, why are you saying no? Nobody asked me why I'm saying no.
Mm-hmm. So they just castigated you for saying it?
All they did, all I had, all of political meetings is threats. All I had is intimidations. And because nobody asked me, why are you saying no? I even tried to write a letter to the chairman of the finance committee, telling him, I represent farmers, and my farmers are not comfortable with your proposal. Even to date, I have never had a reply.
All right. Mheshimiwa, let us now move over to the issues in regards to Mount Kenya region, and there's this notion of kingpinship for the last couple of days or weeks. Now, who articulates the issues of Mount Kenya region as is at this moment? Who is articulating the issues for them? 2, do you think the problem that happened with the Mount Kenya region is that there was an umbrella party to protect them post-2022 elections? And how has that affected the region?
I am looking at those people we call kingpins in Mount Kenya, for example, historically. It is not in any dispute that Uhuru Kenyatta has been a kingpin. What made Uhuru Kenyatta a kingpin? To be honest, it is not because he was a son of the late president. No, because we have had other sons of late presidents who are not kingpin. The reason why Uhuru Kenyatta became a kingpin is because he showed at some point that he can take a bullet for the people of Mount Kenya. I know you know very well, and those that are watching me, those that are close to my age, remember 2007. They know what Uhuru Kenyatta did for the sake of the people of Mount Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta became the kingpin the day he sacrificed self, family, everything that he had for us, and we saw it. This hurabaru of who is the kingpin and queenpin is not political. And you can never become a kingpin of a community because of your politics. You can only become a kingpin or a queenpin of a community through your dedicated service to them.
So you're trying to say that as of now, Kenyatta cannot be overthrown yet?
Who is that person who can prove to us that you have done kilometers of service, denial to yourself and your family for the sake of the community? Who is that very person who can tell us that he has lost opportunities for the sake of our children? Or he has suffered in the struggle to serve the people of Mount Kenya? Hakuna. I haven't seen anybody. So nobody can actually come and say, I'm overtaking Uhuru Kenyatta in terms of being a kingpin in Mount Kenya. Let me ask you a question. And please allow me to be a bit tribal here. Uhuru Kenyatta's 10 years has given us so many people from Mount Kenya in very strategic government positions. Uhuru Kenyatta employed very many of our people in government service. It is not disputed. He made sure most of people from Mount Kenya, from Meru region, from Embu region, from Murang'a and Kiambu and Rift Valley are in strategic positions, and now they are graduating to become PSs, directors of parastatals. They've become very senior people in the military. The people he employed in 2013 are now graduating to be very senior people in government. And that is why I've seen a lot of noise people saying that Kikuyus and Kalenjins are very many in government. It is because when Uhuru got in, he did his part. As we speak, instead of our people who we have sent in that government, Kenya Kwanza government, absorbing more of our people, they are firing them. So how then do you come and tell us you are our kingpin, and as you sit as a king there, imaginary king, your people are being fired in the same government? And when I say fired, I know what I'm talking about. I have a list I can show you. And if anybody asks you, tell them, I'll give you a document, you will see. Since Kenya Kwanza government came in place, over 118 senior people from Mount Kenya region have been fired.
Mheshimiwa, are you trying to say that the person at the top that we think that should resonate with the votes that Mount Kenya gave to the Kenya Kwanza administration is not doing much to resonate those votes and the service delivery in the region?
There is nothing much we are seeing. And for me, I will say that boldly because I'm one of those who believed in the leadership of the people that are there. And I campaigned for them and I fought for them. I remember when we went into our secret boardrooms to appoint, to give suggestions of who is going to become what, I became very vocal, fighting for somebody from Mount Kenya to be part and parcel of the senior most leadership of Kenya Kwanza government. But I'm very disappointed because the people we trusted and believed that they can fight for us, all they're doing is stirring us into fights. A lot of conflict, a lot of fighting, a lot of name calling. Instead of bringing us together and reasoning together, we are fighting out each other. We are pulling them down, pulling anybody. Gathoni akiongea, pull her down. Gathoni akisema hii si mzuri, pull her down. It is called PhD. This is not the right time for us to speak about who is going to deputize who in 2027. That is a tactical way of tearing off Mount Kenya into pieces. And somebody somewhere has sat down and came out with a plan to tear out Mount Kenya into pieces. When Mount Kenya speaks as one, nobody can shake us. So the strategy is to sponsor as many voices as possible.
All right. Mheshimiwa, you have not been shy when it comes to critiquing some of the policies of the Kenya Kwanza government. Are there policies that you support in the Kenya Kwanza government?
Yes.
Give us example.
I keep on saying the idea of Hustler Fund is a fantastic idea, because it's an idea that sought to empower the very low person in the economic pyramid, the bottom, the very low person. Hustler Fund eliminated power brokers, economic brokers, knowledge brokers, and allowed the Wanjiku of Kambabe to access money without brokerage, without middlemen. To me, that's the best thing Kenya Kwanza government has ever done. And when they do something good, I say this is very good. But when they don't do good, I critique. Not because I love critiquing, because I am true to myself.
All right. You have also critiqued the affordable housing program by the executive, by the president. Why so? Why? Because the president is always telling us, you know, what, the ones who are opposing, they don't want us to help.
Because the thinking behind the housing is not, to me, according to me, is not geared to solving the problem of housing. The thinking behind the housing is a means of collection of money that we desperately need to pay loans. But somebody wittingly crafted it as a housing so that people can accept it, because lack of decent housing is one of our pressing needs. To be very honest, I want any auditor who can prove me wrong to come to this show and prove me wrong. And prove to me that every single shilling that is being collected as house levy, every single shilling that is being collected as house tax is going towards housing. Because that is not true. Right now, the houses President Ruto is opening and launching, most of them were started by the previous regime, including what he came to launch here in Roiro. The houses in Roiro were started by Uhuru Kenyatta. And it is a private-public partnership thing that was started earlier on. Do you want to tell me that the money that we have been charged as house levy has been used to build Roiro houses? Do you want to tell me that the houses that he has launched in Kibera was not started by Uhuru Kenyatta? And Uhuru Kenyatta did not ask us for house levy. So the reason why I've been critiquing this housing thing is because somebody is using the name house to collect tax, but that tax is not going to house. Number two, the houses that are being constructed as affordable, they are not affordable. You cannot tell me that Mama Boga of Githunguri can afford a house where she's supposed to be paying 31,000 shillings per month so that she can own that house. That is not affordable. Let me take you to Benin. Benin is an African country. For the last 3 years, they have been constructing what they are calling social housing for the low cadre citizens. And for you to be able to get that house, all you need to do is to prove that you can be able to afford rentals of that house. And in Benin, there are no documents to fill. You just present yourself with money and say, I can afford to pay this house worth 5,000. And you prove that you can afford to pay 5,000. You are given the house. You pay for that house.
So are you saying ours is a scam?
I said it in Parliament. I said it's scandalous, didn't I? To me, this is, I have said it and I will repeat. To me, if really you want to make people affordable house, affordable means use whatever is available in your neighborhood, put it together, and make an affordable house. So go to the coastal region. Do they have coconut leaves? Yes. Do they have bamboo? Yes. Help them to use what they have, what they can afford, to come up with a house they can afford. Go to Turkana, for example. What do they use to fence their house? To roof their house? Nyasi. Go and enable them to get what they can afford and build them the houses they afford, and they will live without pressure. But don't give me an affordable house, yet every month you want me to give you 10,000. Nitoe wapi? You know, if you want to make a Maasai home happy and dignified, go and get them the cow dung. They've been using the cow dung. And by the way, they are happy. And they live very comfortably with their cow dung. Go there and enable them to do as many cow dung pasted houses as possible. That is affordable to them and for them. But don't remove me from the cow dung. You want me to go to the concrete, and you want me to become a slave of your concrete idea forever.
So these ideas that you're giving us here,
yes,
did you try pitch them to the president as a member of the ruling Kenya?
Who gave me the opportunity to do so? You think I can walk in anywhere and get him and tell him what I'm telling you?
So the problem is there's no sit down.
This is a political class scam.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, even if they don't hear me, this issue will come in every election. And this is going to be the biggest scam in the history of this country. Right. Let's not just brush the issue of affordability. Let us ask ourselves, why does it have to be that these affordable houses are only in strategic places like urban centers? Why can't you make me afford a house in Nanyuki in the bush where I can afford? Why don't you come to Nanyuki in the bush and tell me, hey, you're sleeping in a bad house, can I help you to come up with a nice house here in Nanyuki, in the villages, kule mashinani? Come to Gathoni, let's go to our coffee plantation areas where we have a lot of land. And by the way, we plant a lot of trees, which we cut and we use them to do our own affordable houses. Why can't you come there? Help me with as many machines to cut those trees as possible, and get the very many young boys in the villages who have no jobs. They come and help me cut the trees. Those trees, we call them midadoko. Then those trees, you help me to build those local houses in that local village. Then I will clap for you and tell you that is affordable. But you can't remove me from Githega, where I grow tea, and you're building for me an affordable house in Roiro Town. And in Roiro Town, I have to pay power. Kule Gishagi, I was using my candle and I was comfortable. I was using my lantern, I was comfortable. Then you bring me here in Roiro and you tell me I need to pay for garbage. I was not paying for garbage in the village. You want me to pay for you a watchman, and I was the watchman of my own house. And then you tell me that is affordable. Hi.
Aside from that, let us talk about the judiciary and the executive. On Monday, we saw President William Ruto, of course, meet with the Lady Justice, that is Martha Koome, of course, to mend the rocky relationship between the two. And we saw the Chief Justice got some promised goodies from that, including funding. Do you think funding should come from the president, or should it come from Parliament?
I'm surprised that the president is actually pledging to give money, and he is not the budgeting center. The budgeting center is Parliament. All he could have done is to say, in fact, when I saw that statement, I was like, oh, okay, so who is the government spokesman here? Because I expected that statement to come from the government spokesman saying, we have had this meeting and we have agreed we need to fund Parliament, judiciary more, and we are going to request Parliament to consider funding judiciary. That is what I told you. I think this current Parliament is under siege because I expected the representative of Parliament in that meeting because the Speaker was there, I guess. The clerk of the National Assembly was there. I expected that Speaker of the National Assembly and the clerk to actually issue a statement and say, we have been tasked to make sure judiciary has been funded during the budgetary process, the upcoming budgetary process. But when the president says, I feel very offended as a member of parliament because I think he's overstepping the mandate of a president and trying to prove to the world that parliament is non-functional and parliament is functional. So parliament has a very able speaker, a very, very, very experienced speaker. Parliament has a very able clerk right now. By the way, the clerk we have right now, Mr. Joroge, is one of the most polished clerks of the National Assembly we have in the history of this country. So when the president takes over their functions and stands on national television and says that he's going to make sure that judiciary is funded, I feel like somebody is doing what they are not supposed to do.
So do you think a carrot was dangled in that particular meeting?
I was actually speaking to somebody who does international journals, and I was telling them I felt like this time round, the Chief Justice looked like she has been subdued. Yeah, even her, body language told us that she's subdued, and that is not what we expected. We expected her to stand firm as the first woman Chief Justice and prove to the world that she is in charge of judiciary. She can stand and fight for the judiciary and protect judiciary from political attacks. We did not hear any apology for the many attacks, political attacks that judiciary has endured. I thought out of that meeting, somebody would come and say, I think we overdid politically and we render our apologies. That is what I expected. I expected Mother Koome to say, I want to assure the member of judiciary that they are in safe hands and no more political punching and no more chest thumping and giving excuses on behalf of judiciary. That I did not hear. Now, what are we left to, those of us that did not attend the meeting, what are we left guessing? We are left guessing that our Chief Justice is subdued. We are left guessing that the political punching that we saw for the last 1 month is going to continue. And we are left doubting whether judiciary will do their job independently. We are left guessing. For me, I'm left guessing. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mheshimiwa, let us talk about a motion that you tabled in Parliament in 2023 on matters school uniform for county public schools. Why did you have that urge of coming up with such a bill?
Not county, let me correct you. I did a motion that was supposed to be effected for all public schools and private schools operating under the policy of basic education in Kenya, whether private or public. Let me tell you, I told you when you see us behave the way we behave politically, some of us, it is because of what we have gone through in our past. My first uniform, my first ever uniform that I wore in class 1, it was a gift because my parent could not have afforded to give me a brand new uniform. So all my primary school life, I was used to wearing a uniform that I had purchased, that was torn, that was repaired. But I thank God my mother was very responsible. She made sure that even if it was patched, it was a very decent looking piece of cloth. My first ever new uniform I wore was a gift from a member of parliament, the late Ada Kenyajui Magugu. whom I will forever be grateful. He gave me my first piece of new uniform. And therefore, I feel, as a member of parliament, I should not sit pretty when parents are going through hell as they try to purchase pieces of uniform. And I felt we have over-commercialized uniform buying and provision. And I felt it is my time to bring order. So I brought a motion, and all I needed is a Ministry of Education to standardize and regulate purchasing of uniform and processes of acquiring uniform. The ministry was shy to give us a policy, because a policy means that then we come up with a standard garment, standard color, standard capping of pricing, and many other processes. And the ministry felt like they are going to overshake the uniform industry. And so they said, we are going first to give out a circular and stop the headmasters, the headmistresses, and school administrators from dictating on where to buy uniform. And they did a circular that is now in place. That circular generally says or directs that parents should be free to buy uniform from wherever they will source from, as long as it is the right color, it is the right garment, and they are free to negotiate for the price. That means no school should stock uniform, no school should dictate where to buy uniform from, no school should employ a resident tailor. Parents should be free to either make uniform on their own or source from wherever. Let me tell you, there are schools I know even now, uniform for 1 year is more costly than the tuition fee for 1 year. I have had various discussions with CS Mushogu over the issue, and I'm glad that at least a certain percentage of parents are excited that they are free. They now can save some money on uniform. I'll give you an example. And I would want you to visit Uhuru Market. I would want you to visit Githurai Market. I would want you to visit Githunguri and have a chat with some few parents and some tailors. They will tell you, tailors were idle when parents queued in some shop in Roiro, in Thika, where there was a coalition between the shop owners and school administrators. And some parents are even tailors themselves, but they were not allowed to make uniform for their own children. But when this regulation came, parents are now free. They are now going to tailors, local tailors, and ordering pieces of uniform. What does that mean? It means even our local tailors are in business, and that is what we meant by bottom up. Most of those who sold uniform in the market, open air markets, are now selling uniform. But before my regulation, or this piece of regulation, nobody would buy uniform from the market. Because if you did so, the school administrator or the school principal would not allow you to use that uniform in their schools. How I wish that what we have done on regulation of uniform, we'll do that on textbooks. Because the same cartels that were thriving on uniform are the same cartels that are thriving on school textbooks. Parents are told, go to this bookshop and buy these books from this bookshop. And even if you yourself are a trader in books, you know there are people who sell books along the road. Those books, you cannot take them to some schools because the head teachers will not allow. Those cartels must be dismantled. Now, every time I see my president saying that he's going to dismantle cartels, I laugh. And I ask myself, you are telling me you are going to dismantle cartels, but the basic cartels are still thriving. You know, when I was making this regulation, I got a lot of calls, people telling me, stop doing this regulation. Stop harassing uniform traders. And some of them even told me, even if you don't stop it, you're going to stop it anyway. They even went to court. Those cartels I am requesting the president to help me to dismantle them so that the parents of Kenya, the learners of Kenya, can be free. Those are the cartels we need to start with.
All right. Let me just first say thank you, Mheshimiwa, for sparing time with us.
Thank you.
And as they say, once a journalist, always a journalist.
Yeah.
Why don't you wrap up this interview for us, facing this camera?
How do I wrap up?
Remind yourself how you used to do it. So just wrap up the interview. You assume you're a reporter.
Oh dear. It's many years since I reported. And of course, I was not reporting in English. I was reporting in Kikuyu. So how do I do it in English, for heaven's sake?
Just tell your viewers, thank you for watching. My name is Gathoni. Thank you. This is KTN News.
Thank you for watching KTN News. I am glad that you have been following us. My name is Gathoni wa Muchomba, a former journalist and a practicing politician and a leader, a mother, a teacher. And with Gathoni, you can never get it wrong. With KTN News, you can never get it wrong.
Perfect, you see. Perfect. That's perfectly done.
Njema, mchezo mpya kushinda hela umewasili.